It was nearly midnight when Daniel's car broke down on the desolate stretch of Blackwood Lane. The road was narrow, lined with crooked trees whose branches reached out like skeletal hands. His phone had no signal, and the nearest town was miles behind him. The only light came from the pale, cold moon that seemed to follow him through the mist. Up ahead, half shrouded in fog, he noticed a house. Its dark silhouette rose from the ground like a forgotten relic. Daniel hesitated, but the cold gnawed at his bones, and he needed a phone, or at least shelter. He pushed open the rusty gate and followed the gravel path toward the door. The crunch beneath his shoes echoed unnaturally loud, as though the night were holding its breath. The house looked abandoned. The windows were dark, their glass cracked, and ivy crept up the walls like veins. But when Daniel knocked, the door creaked open as if it had been expecting him. Inside, the air was stale, filled with the faint smell of damp wood and something metallic. Blood. Perhaps, though, Daniel told himself it was only rust. The floor groaned under his weight. He called out, "Hello? Is anyone here?" But only silence answered. He stepped into the foyer. The walls were lined with portraits, their painted eyes following him. In one frame, a family smiled stiffly, a man, a woman, and a young girl holding a doll. Dust veiled their faces, but Daniel felt the girl's eyes were sharper, more alive than the rest. He shivered and turned away. He found an old rotary phone on a side table, its cord cut clean. His stomach sank. He should leave, yet some unseen pull urged him deeper into the house. A soft sound stopped him, a faint giggle, high-pitched, childlike, coming from upstairs. Daniel froze. Perhaps there was someone here after all. Perhaps the family hadn't abandoned this place entirely. Against his better judgment, he climbed the staircase, each step creaking like a groan of warning. The corridor above stretched into darkness. Doors lined both sides, but one at the far end was slightly ajar, a sliver of light spilling out. The giggle came again, clearer this time. Daniel swallowed hard and approached. He pushed the door open. Inside was a child's bedroom, frozen in time. Toys lay scattered across the floor, and faded wallpaper peeled in strips. In the middle of the bed sat the same doll from the portrait downstairs, its glass eyes glinting in the dim light. But there was no child. Daniel's breath quickened. He turned to leave, but the door slammed shut behind him with a deafening bang. His heart leapt into his throat. He grabbed the knob, twisted it, pulled. It wouldn't budge. The temperature dropped, his breath now visible in the air. Then he heard it, the faint creak of the bed springs. Slowly, against his will, his eyes shifted back. The doll was no longer sitting. It was standing, its head tilted unnaturally to the side, and its cracked porcelain mouth seemed to widen into a grin. Daniel stumbled backward, crashing into the wall. "This isn't real," he whispered, trying to convince himself. "It's just in my head." The doll took one step forward. The sound of tiny wooden feet echoed like hammer blows in the silence. The room darkened, shadows crawling across the walls as though alive. From the corners came whispers, soft at first, then rising, overlapping, until Daniel could barely think. They spoke his name. "Daniel, Daniel." He clamped his hands over his ears, but the voices came from inside, curling into his mind like smoke. Suddenly the light snapped out. Pitch black engulfed him. He felt something cold brush against his hand. Then another touch at his ankle, small fingers grasping. He screamed and kicked, scrambling blindly toward where he thought the door was. His hands found the knob again. This time it turned. The door flew open, and he stumbled into the hall, panting, the whispers fading behind him. The corridor seemed longer now, stretching endlessly in both directions, and at the far end stood the girl from the portrait. Her dress was faded, her face pale, her eyes two hollow pits that reflected no light. She clutched the doll in her arms, rocking it gently. "You shouldn't be here," she said in a voice both childish and ancient. Daniel's legs refused to move. She began walking toward him, her bare feet silent against the wooden floor. The air grew heavier with each step, pressing against his chest, choking him. He turned and ran the other way. Doors on either side swung open violently as he passed, slamming shut again with bone-jarring force. He didn't dare look in. Finally, he spotted the staircase. He bolted down, leaping 2 steps at a time. The front door was still open, the mist outside a welcome sight. He sprinted toward it, but as he crossed the threshold, the ground gave way. He fell, not onto the porch, not onto the gravel path, but into darkness. Endless, suffocating darkness. He landed hard on something cold and wet. When he opened his eyes, he was back inside the house. The foyer. The portraits. The door behind him firmly shut. "No," he gasped. He yanked at the handle, pounded on the wood, but it wouldn't open. The portraits on the walls were different now. The family no longer smiled. Their expressions were twisted, mouths stretched in silent screams. And in the empty frame where the girl once was, Daniel now saw his own reflection, wide-eyed, terrified, trapped. A laugh echoed through the house, high-pitched, childlike. And then the whispers returned.